Energy think tank Africa Center for Energy Policy (ACEP) is warning the Electricity Company of Ghana might be negatively affected if government delays with the implementation of the Millennium Challenge Corporation Compact 2 program. The implementation of the Ghana Power Compact Agreement signed between the MCC and the government of Ghana in 2014 has stalled since the Kwadwo-led administration took over. President Kwadwo told Monday's May Day parade government is renegotiating aspects of the deal, but the Public Utilities Workers Union, which represents the ECG workers, says it would rather the whole concession idea is abandoned. ACEP says government would have to urgently meet with POO to resolve all outstanding pertinent issues with the agreement for smooth implementation. Raymond Aqua has more.
The implementation of the Ghana Power Compact Agreement signed between the MCC and the government of Ghana in 2014 stalled following some unresolved issues. Workers of the ECG since then have been agitating against aspects of the deal meant to improve management of ECG. President Kwadwo announced a successful renegotiation of the compact that will reduce the tenure of the concession from 25 to 20 years. The Public Utilities Workers Union, however, says it is disappointed President Kwadwo went ahead to negotiate new terms of the ECG concession arrangement without consulting them.
The President has indicated during the State of the Nation address, and this was re-echoed by the Minister of Finance when he presented the budget to Parliament, that there will be a dialogue on this issue between Labour, MIDA and ECG before any firm position is announced. But here we are hearing this kind of statements when we haven't had any such dialogue. So is it that the President, what he said about the dialogue, he didn't mean it, or he's just taking workers for granted? We think that it is important that all stakeholders sit around and discuss, and then we come to certain consensus. We are not saying that as workers, without us, government cannot take decision. No, but what we are saying is that we must be involved, and there are key issues that we need to discuss before we come to certain conclusions concerning this compact.
But ACEP's Executive Director Benjamin Boachi says a further delay of the Compact 2 program will erode efforts to retool ECG to deliver quality service.
Immediately, I think what government should be focusing on is bringing all the parties together and getting a quicker resolution to some of these difficulties we have. Else, the arrangement is going to drag, and we're still having the problems that we have with ECG. We need that broader consultation now, and not just the big promises, but we need to pin down on the fine details and agree with Labour on how we can deploy the energies of the workers of the ECG to ensure that we bring back that efficiency. As soon as you're able to get everybody on the table to agree on these fine details, we can make headway. Other than that, that was further drag the compact arrangement.
Is there a cost to dragging this compact arrangement?
There is a cost. We have a September deadline to meet, and if we don't meet that deadline, then the compact ceases to exist.
Raymond Aqua for Joy News.
Well, National Chairman of the Progressive People's Party, Ini Alote Bruhamad, is asking government to pull out of the controversial MCC Power Compact Agreement. He agrees that workers should have been consulted before government went ahead to renegotiate the deal.
Well, every deal requires stakeholder concurrence, and I believe that the union workers were the prime stakeholders that needed to be consulted before a decision was made. I get the impression from listening to their representatives that there was no consultation. They had no knowledge of the terms that they had reached with the Millennium Challenge account, and that could be a potential problem for the administration. If they don't get the buy-in of the workers, then the deal will be no deal.
Yes, but I mean, without the stakeholders and POO in this case, looking at the deal as announced by the president, what do you make of it?
Well, the main point that was not hitting home well was the concessions. The concession to give up the EC to a private stakeholder. The workers believe that if they were adequately paid for the services they had rendered, that they would be able to profitably run the utility. And that's what we expect the government to do, to pay the EC, the Electricity Corporation is debt, and once that is paid, then we'll expect that they will be able to get the job done and done well.
Well, General Secretary of the Public Utility Workers Union has been reacting to claims by ASAP that the ECG deal could, the attempts to turn around the Electricity Company of Ghana could be negatively affected by the back and forth between government and pool. He has been reacting to ASAP's claims.
The ASAP man was talking about ECG workers just want to be there. We are not there, just staff just want to be there. Everybody goes to work with the intention of wanting to contribute. But there are a lot of frustration, and this comes through leadership arrangements, which we have argued and argued and argued. And I was happy that Mr. Austin Game
came in to mention.
Without clear leadership and direction, we are just going to go
brown
in a vicious
and come back to square one.
What we want at this point is that with this announcement that the president made, his broad statement, we want to see the details. If the details are yet to be worked out, as Austin Game said, we want to be involved in these details. There are certain things we must also bring to bear on the table. And for any change process, if you leave the key actors, the human element, and you think you can just work with machines and equipment, you may end up where you didn't want to be. So we want to be actively involved. We want to also bring ideas and suggestions, and we want to see transformation.
Another news, flag bearer of the Progressive People's Party in the 2016 elections, Dr. Papakwesi Indom, has called on President Kwadwo to stop lamenting and lead the way in public sector reforms. According to him, government's failure to initiate public sector reforms will adversely affect development in the sector. This comes on the back of President Kwadwo's call for increased productivity. Dr. Indom, who once served as a minister in charge of public sector reforms under the erstwhile Kuffour administration, made this call on the sidelines of a forum organized by the Private University Students Association of Ghana on how to be a successful entrepreneur.
I don't like to associate lamentations with the leader. If a leader will come in front and come and lament that there's problem 1, problem 2, problem 3, problem 4, who is to solve it? So I don't believe in that. I believe that you are put there, a leader is put there because things are tough or there are difficulties that show up. And so I prefer that you would tell me that the president stood somewhere and said, this is what I am going to do, or this is how I'm going to lead you to resolve this problem 1, problem 2, problem 3. That's what I believed in, because when I was at the public sector reform, we came up with solutions, and we started, implementing those solutions.
What are some of these?
Well, you know about the single spine. We started single spine, and everybody knows about single spine. We started a number of initiatives, even to clean up the ministries area. But all of those things, it takes leadership, it takes support, it takes money. So I am hoping that the president will lead, and would lead to get the public sector to work, because if public sector doesn't work, it affects negatively those who are doing work in the private sector.
Dr. Indom, meanwhile, says government's agenda to create jobs and industrialize will only succeed if it creates the enabling environment for businesses.
Well, you can't talk about the labor market without business people. You can't talk about entrepreneurship if the ones who own factories and so on and so forth are not doing well. I can give an example. We have a company in Elmina, and even today we are losing 40% of our production capacity because of poor power. Now, how can you create jobs when you're suffering that way? It doesn't work. So if we're going to want to create jobs, those necessities, the foundation stones must be there.
We're taking a break on Joy News Prime. Still to come, students of School of Mapping and Surveying go on rampage over the sale of a portion of the school's land to a private developer. We'll be back in a message. The Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly has elected Ernest Arthur, a businessman, as the Metropolitan Chief Executive. Ernest Arthur got an overwhelming vote to secure the position from the Assembly members. The newly elected Metropolitan Chief Executive of Cape Coast says his main focus will be on education, jobs and sanitation. Richard Kwadwo was there and has come through with this report.
Ernest Arthur secured 60 out of the 61 votes cast by the Assembly members in the Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly. The businessman's joy knew no bounds as he was sworn in as the MCE for Cape Coast. He called on the people of Cape Coast to rally behind him to work for the betterment of the metropolis.
I really feel proud and honored. Fellow Assembly members, our journey to transform Cape Coast has just begun. We have received the baton from our predecessors for the past 8 years and have worked hard to bring us this far. At this point, ours is to take lessons from the past and put them into good news as we seek to address the problems of our people. Falling standards of education, joblessness, poverty, and poor sanitation. We have heard this rise and draw inspiration from the vision of the Central Minister. Our program henceforth will be driven by the agenda of delivery, and more delivery. This administration is committed to talking less and acting more. We have resolved that this team must be remembered for speedily addressing community issues. We will work hard to help the President achieve his vision of transforming Ghana. I want to use this opportunity to call all citizens of Cape Coast, both home and abroad, to come on board as we build a new Cape Coast. To investors, Cape Coast is open for investments, and my office is going to do everything humanly possible to assist you to ensure that we succeed in Cape Coast. I promise to run an all-inclusive administration, transparent, do my very best, and always be myself in all that I do in my new role as MC for Cape Coast.
The regional minister, Kwame Duncan, could not thank the Assembly members enough for the show of support for the new MCE. He believes the show of support by the Assembly should translate into a show of support from the people of the Cape Coast metropolis.
Because we all have duties to execute as members of this Assembly. For this reason, we are expected to bring our wise counsel and contributions to bear on our deliberation today and the days hereafter. The task facing all of us is enormous, and we will succeed if we commit ourselves to it and work as a team. The National Distinguished Ladies and Gentlemen, today's ceremony marks another milestone in our quest to meet the high expectations of our people. We have no choice but to commit ourselves to work hard and place our experience, knowledge, skills, and expertise at the disposal of this Assembly to ensure that our quest to improve the living conditions of our people becomes a reality.
Richard Kwadwo, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Elsewhere, youth of Langbesi Makarigu in the North Gonja district of the Northern Region say they are disappointed over what they describe as President Kwadwo's failure to appoint the 2016 MPP parliamentary candidate as the area's district chief executive. Speaking at a news conference in Tamale, the leader of the youth, Haruna Shaibu, said the area contributed significantly to the MPP's win in the region, hence deserve to be rewarded with the appointment.
Addressing a press conference in Tamale, the secretary of the group, Haruna Shaibu, said the people of Langbinsi Mankargu zone showed loyalty by offering the NPP 76.83% of the party's valid votes cast, whilst the Daboya zone gave the party 16.74% and wondered why the president would give the district #1 position to the people who were disloyal to the party.
Your Excellency, we wish to remind you that Honorable Tika was the one who led the party in the 2012 general elections and lost to an NDC candidate from Daboya with a little over 1,600 votes. But because of his credible performance in the Langbinsi and Mankargu zones, which are traditionally NDC strongholds, he was made again to lead the party in the just ended 2016 general elections. Unfortunately, he lost again to an NDC candidate who is also from Daboya with about 600 votes. This painful and unexpected two successful defeats can be largely attributed to the massive drop in the party's votes in the Daboya zone, which used to be the stronghold of our party since 2000. They decided to reject our party's candidates and rather voted massively for their brothers in the NDC. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, that notwithstanding, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo went ahead and rewarded the people of this area with the #1 position in the district.
Mr. Shaibu said, in the spirit of fairness and equity, the president should compensate Mr. Tika with a decent appointment. He also named Abdurrahman Toibu and Saka Danladi as people who also worked hard and deserve reward. Mr. Shaibu listed 5 positions in the district. He appealed to the president to appoint people from the Langbinsi Mankargu zone to occupy.
We, however, wish to state in clear terms that party members and people from this area are generally peaceful, humble, law-abiding, and true party loyalists. We therefore respect the decision of His Excellency the President, but with heavy hearts. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it appears our humility, love for the party, and peace have been abused for far too long. In the spirit of fairness, equity, and respect for equal rights, we wish to call on His Excellency the President to, as a matter of urgency, address the following concerns in order to give life to the party in our constituency. 1. We want our brother, Honorable Tika Samoyeyu, to be compensated by giving him a decent appointment at the national or regional level.
Students of the Ghana School of Survey and Mapping on Tuesday went on rampage, destroying a barricade used to cordon off part of the school's land, which has now been sold off to a private developer. The students have been protesting the sale of the school's land for a while now, but became agitated when the portion of land given to the developer was cordoned off last week. Mapitso Sebede has more.
The students have since November 2015 been battling the Lands Commission over its decision to sell off parts of the school's land. The private developer is said to have earmarked the land for a shopping mall. The students' contention is that the school would have to be relocated if the Lands Commission is bent on giving out the land, and had called a news conference to reiterate their objection to the deal. But instead, the news team met chaos, with students having a go at the barricade. The students described the takeover of the property as illegal and charged the authorities to stop the transaction.
This school, you can take your microphone to any regional director of surveys. Go and ask any survey officer there who is not passed through this school. Go to Ghana Institute of Surveys. All of them, even the president, the current president, is from this school. All the licensed surveyors of Ghana, all of them is from this school. Yes. Go to, you can take your microphone and put it on record. You can go to the Land Commission, the survey department. Anybody who claims that he's not from this school, he should bring his evidence. And today, they are demolishing this school. without any reasonable. They did not locate any land for us. And I can't even express my explaining me because I'm only calling on the government that there's illegal galamsey in Lands Commission. I'm calling on the minister that if he is indeed committed of fighting galamsey, then he should know that there's a big canker in Lands Commission called illegal galamsey there. He should fish them out. Yeah, I'm telling him he should feed them out. And we are paying a lot of fees compared to our other students. But we know that this school, immediately you completed, your job is killed. It's a professional course and it's a lucrative one. So we don't even bother about the fees, but the maltreatment that they are giving to us is what we are talking about. If they want to locate us, then they should get a place, build a school, and they can relocate us, provided that they have made sure that everything is in place.
Last week I saw that they did some hole around. Friday we were here, I left early, but I hear from my colleagues that they brought some guys for them to come and fence around our school and give us something small, not up to 2 acres, for my observation. And the fencing, they say if they see anybody, they should kill the person. It's a human being, a chicken. It's Ghana School of Solving, the only school in Ghana. In Ghana that has that have land. If Ghana School of Solving is the only school in Ghana that have land, they should take it in mind. They should use their CSA. That Ghana School of Solving is the only survey school in Africa. West Africa. In Africa, if Ghana School of Solving can provide surveyors, engineers. Yes. If no surveyors, no engineering work can go on. Construction of bridge, dam cannot go on.
The police eventually had to be called in to restore calm, by which time the corrugated sheets used to cordon off the land had all been pulled down by the rioting students. Airport District Police Commander, Chief Superintendent Henry K. Otto told the students though they would not be arrested, the police would not permit any destruction to the property.
It's just unfortunate that when the confusion started, we didn't have enough men on ground. Our duty here is to protect you. We have not come here to arrest anybody. All we have come, Choboy, all we have come to do here is to ensure that there's peace around the area, that everyone is equally protected. We know you have put across your grievances to the relevant authorities. And we know very much that the relevant authorities are working on it. So, all we will do here, all we will entreat from you is to maintain your calm. Don't destroy any property here.
SRC President Bright Joseph Nsia said the impending project will disrupt academic work as the portion of the land sold off is used for practical work. He criticized the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry's nonchalant approach to their concerns.
We were promised by the Lands Commission. They came here, they met us on the campus. Initially, they were to demolish all the structures on these premises. And they came here, they promised us that they have gotten our petition and they are going to look at it and respond to us accordingly. But I speak with you now, over 2 years now, we've not heard anything. Giving the ministry 2 weeks ultimatum. 2 weeks, I think is enough, because when the leadership met the minister, I think somewhere in February this year at the Lands Commission, he promised the students' leadership that he's going to call for a roundtable discussion with the various stakeholders concerned with this school so that they can, dialogue concerning the contract. If there is anything fishy, anything that has not called for the progress, but rather retrogression of the students, definitely he will not allow for the contract to be awarded. If the ultimatum elapses and still we are not being called or our pleas have not been responded to, we are going to quickly mobilize ourselves and march straight to the presidency.
None of the school authorities would speak with the media, and the director of survey from the Lands Commission, Wilson Opoku, who was at the scene, would also not comment.
Still to come in the bulletin, posters emerge of the Member of Parliament for the Nadoli Kaliu constituency's bid to contest the flag bearership of the National Democratic Congress for election 2020. Will be speaking to his spokesperson. And also in the bulletin, heads of churches in the Ashanti region have admonished especially members of the Christian community to reject offerings made by members engaged in illegal mining activities. We'll get a lot more on that when we come back later. We have business news next.
Hello again, good evening, and thanks for being with me on Business Tonight. Oil marketing companies have given government a 48-hour ultimatum to stop activities of illegal fuel operators or face thereof. The companies say the threat has been influenced by the inability of the National Petroleum Authority to act on their concerns. They maintain that after almost a year after engaging the authority in this regard, it has still failed to stop firms that get tax reliefs for exporting fuel to neighboring countries and later end up selling them on the local market at a cheaper price. The development, they say, could lead to the closure of some oil companies and bring about more layoffs in the industry by the end of this month. Kwadwo is coordinator of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies.
What we want is, we want the government to solve the problem. When it solves the problem, it helps all of us. Government will not lose revenue, our business will be intact, we're not going to lay people off, and that's what we expect. So 48 hours we are given, it's ultimatum we are given. And if 48 hours, we know between now and the 48 hours, there'll be a lot of talk, discussion. Petrol is sold in such a way that it's not like somebody is coming to buy 1 liter, then you switch your system on. No, this is supposed to be running. So if the bottom line is you are not getting the volume, how do you meet your cost? You cannot make it, let alone paying you employees.
Could we see some service stations? I mean, some have said that they've had to virtually close some service stations because of what is happening. Closure is also something that has affected you badly. Badly.
If you go to the north, you see a lot of stations which are dry. I personally travel to Western region and some other places, water region as well. You see them sleeping. The power attendants were sleeping. In fact, if you happen to be at the station trying to buy fuel, it's like a miracle. Why should it be like that? Meanwhile, in this country, nobody has complained of shortage of fuel. So where's the fuel going? Where is it coming from? That's where we're coming from. They keep on assuring. They have been doing that. And the chief executive, Hassan Tabore, has met me. We've met several times, and all is assuring. We're doing this. Last time they were at the ports. But assurance does not give you solution to your problem. That's where we are coming from. We can't continue to bid time on this. We can't. So we need a bigger ask, like the government coming forcibly on those perpetrators. Then obviously we can get somewhere.
And meanwhile, the National Petroleum Authority has announced a series of measures to stop activities of such illegal fuel operators in the country. The move has been influenced by complaints from oil marketing companies that the authority is not doing enough to address their concerns.
The National Petroleum Authority, NPA, in a statement issued to Joy Business by its chief executive, Hassan Tampuri, said in collaboration with all the agencies, the authority has directed that no vessel carrying petroleum products should be allowed to berth at the fishing harbour to discharge fuel unless the NPA approves it. The authority also cites the establishment of a government task force led by the Deputy Minister of Finance as another commitment to deal with the situation. Again, the authority has directed that all exports to especially Burkina Faso and Mali for the Bolgatanga depot. The Navy and the Ghana Maritime Authority have been asked to keep watch on smaller vessels discharging into canoes carrying drums and gallons. The NPA believes all these measures should help address concerns of the oil marketing companies and make the smuggling venture less profitable.
And that was a Business Desk report. Now, the Institute of Energy Security, IES, says fuel prices are expected to remain fairly stable in a review of the May 2017 second pricing window. The energy think tank says prices of fuel in the second pricing window of the month of April recorded some form of stability at the pumps in reference to petrol and diesel. According to the IES, the stabilization in prices was the result of stiff competition for market share among the various oil marketing companies. Speaking on the Business Live this evening, principal researcher of the IES, Richmond Roxon, said fuel prices on the local market will remain fairly stable in the month of May, with the Ghana cedi appreciating slightly against the US dollar, fuel stock levels and Brent crude pricing also falling slightly.
But the competition for market share is what will perhaps drive prices down just a bit in this very window. We are looking at the review for the first pricing window in May. You know, every pricing window starts from the 1st of the month to the 15th, and the second begins from the 16th of the month to the end of the month. But when you look at our statement, what we do is that we reviewed the last window in April, that's the second pricing window in April, and exactly what we are expecting to happen in the first pricing window of May as well.
Away from the downstream petroleum sector, sources say government is expected to extend its program with the IMF beyond the April 2018 deadline. In an interview with George Wiafe in Washington, D.C., where the senior minister was part of the government's delegation that attended the recently ended annual spring meetings, Yaw Safo-Mafo said any program extension with the IMF, however, will not affect the economy and government's policy direction.
Do we really have to complete the program? That's the question you should ask. We are exaggerating this. The IMF has a 3-year extended program with the government starting April 2015, ending April 2018. We came and said we are continuing to the end of the program. The IMF itself supervised the deterioration of the indicators. How do you expect a deficit of 3% and you end up with 8.7 cash and 10.2 on commitment? So I told the IMF that they were poor supervisors, because most of the statements they issued after their visits to Ghana indicated that we were on the right path, but we were not. And therefore, you cannot try to meet all the indicators in 6 months. How?
And therefore, you think the program should be extended to December 2018?
No, we think that we should continue the program to the end, to April. If we see, in fact, there's no difference between April 2018, and please listen to this part very carefully. IMF programs are measured in budget cycles. Our next budget is in November 2017, written for end of December 2018. So that all 2018 budget will be under the supervision of IMF. And therefore, whatever is to be seen up to end of December, I don't see any problem with it. So extending the program to end of December or any in April 2018 is neither here nor there.
Much ado about nothing.
It's much ado about nothing. You are within that budget cycle.
And the just-ended auto show has generated enormous response from the general public and some automobile dealers. The second edition of the event, supported by the multimedia group, brought together buyers and dealers in various automobile brands. Organizers say they have put plans in place to help automobile dealers in the country to market their brands by sustaining organization of the event.
The 3-day event offered Ghanaian automobile dealers the opportunity to display their vehicles and other services to potential buyers and auto service providers. It also gave buyers and other automobile lovers who visit the mall a taste of new trends in the vehicle sales in the industry. In an interview with Joy Business, marketing manager of the Junction Mall at Nungua in Accra, Reginald Bulle, noted the program will be held every year to promote the Ghana's automobile industry.
The most likely thing to come out from this event is to create leads for all the exhibitors here and also to push their revenue margins.
So are we getting it?
Of course, from the feedback I'm getting from the exhibitors for the past 2 days, they've told me that it's been amazing. They don't regret making the choice to come to exhibit here. It's going to be an annual affair. This is the second edition. The reason why we didn't do it last year was because of some logistic issues, but it's going to happen next year at the same time.
Automobile.
That's all in business for now. Many thanks for your company. My name is Emmanuel Abuachi. We have with more news ahead. Thank you.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. The National Democratic Congress in the Nadoli-Kalu constituency in the Upper West region is backing calls for the Member of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, to become the next flag bearer of the party for the 2020 polls. Posters bearing the image of the longest-serving Member of Parliament are springing up in the region. In an interview with Joy News, spokesperson for Alban Bagbin, Joseph Konuba, says the rank and file of the party is rooting for a unifier to lead the party in the 2020 elections.
Bagbin absolutely has also noticed it this afternoon, but he's not aware of who has manufactured it.
So what may be the reason?
I think it's part of a clarion call from the masses of NDC on the ground. It has been happening since the party got that wonderful defeat at polls, that we need somebody in the middle ground, somebody who can pull people from left, right, back and forward to a middle ground in the party so that we all move forward. We know very well that one of the problems that led to the defeat of the NDC in the polls is the seemingly sealed disunity among us. We now need, the people at the grassroots are tired of that division, and they see Honorable Alban Bagbin as a person whose political career has been one of bringing people together, building consensus and moving forward in a better direction.
So he is unaware of this posture, but he also talk about lack of leadership for the NDC. So if he puts his name forward, will the people vote for him?
I think Honorable Alban Bagbin has always shown to be that one particular person who stands up when almost everybody is afraid to speak in the party. He has been that particular person who stands up and says that things are actually going wrong and that we need to chart a better course. This is a character in the man who has led the party straight up from opposition for 8 years into power and has maintained his position in parliament a bit outside and back in to lead the party. It's unfortunate that we lost, but his character is to tell the people that this is where we are going wrong and we must pick up our pieces. Remember, he has a popular saying that he is not a passenger who sits in the car, watches the car to get an accident before he complains. If the driver is becoming careless, he will speak up to save the rest.
So are we going to see him standing as a flag bearer in NDC?
The time for the party now is party's reorganization. We have a timetable. Time for decision making on who is to lead the party hasn't come yet. His concentration is on reorganizing the party at all levels. When that particular point in time comes, I think he will listen to the reasoning in the numerous and increasing calls from the people. That's to say, in a nutshell, that when we get to that bridge, we will cross it.
Let's have mixed reactions in the region to the development. Our Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam has been speaking with some people there.
Honorable Alban Bagbin has been the Member of Parliament for Nadoli-Kalu constituency since 1992. I personally think that he has the requisite political experience as well as leadership. But the big question is, so if he's elected as the next flag bearer, the big question is the NDC going to vote for him? Are Ghanaians going to vote him for the fact that he's a northerner? I mean, another John Mahama in the making? How is it going to work? Will there be some kind of division in northern Ghana?
Anybody can be good material. Saying this, it's not about the who is material until you get there. That is what I know. And well, if he has Ghana at his heart, then I believe he can do something. But with the inception of this republic, we all know how things are going. We've never had a good president from this fourth republic. And we pray for anybody that will come and save Ghana. If the party gives him chance, well, we'll see what will happen. But for this time, I beg he shouldn't come.
Yeah, actually, he'll be a good leader. Yeah, because he did a lot for his constitution, yeah. And I've seen through that, yeah, he'll be able to, be, a good president for Ghana.
Well, let's now speak with the Regional Secretary of the NDC, Issa Kantan-Jerry, on this development. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, how is the party in the region reacting to this development?
Mr. Israel, good evening to you and good evening to your cherished viewers. Let me correct this. I'm the Regional Communications Officer. I'm not the Regional Secretary.
All right, sorry about that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was asking, how's the party in the region reacting to this?
The party in the region is doing well. We have started with our reorganization from the branch level. As we speak now, a lot of activities have been mapped out to ensure that we have a fruitful reorganization of the party from the branch level. And so the regional executives, the constituency executives, as well as the branch executives, we have been very, very, very busy crisscrossing the region, trying to ensure that we reorganize the party and recapture the 5 seats that we lost to the ruling NPP. So I must say the party is doing well in the region.
I mean, does it look like candidates like Alban Bagbin is one that would help you recapture the seats that you've lost?
Let me say that NDC as a party believes in the structures. And if the structures are put in place, if the right structures are put in place, whoever that emerges as the candidate of the NDC will complement the efforts of the various executives in the various constituencies to ensure that we have a very formidable party in the region and to recapture all the seats in the region.
All right, thank you very much for making time to speak with us.
Thank you.
Now, the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana has pledged its support to government efforts to clamp down on illegal mining, also known as Galamsey, at a program to inaugurate a fertilizer watchdog committee at Paga in the Upper East region. The association said activities of Galamsey operators are affecting agriculture in Ghana. They want the Galamsey operators to abandon the illicit trade and rather take up farming. Upper East correspondent Alvesori has more.
The inauguration of the Fertilizer Watchdog Committee was part of discussions on the fertilizer subsidy program organized by the farmer-based group. The Fertilizer Watchdog Committee was inaugurated at the border town of Paga to ensure that people do not smuggle Ghana's subsidized fertilizer to neighboring Burkina Faso. Immigration and police officials, as well as other stakeholders, have been roped into the program to ensure it succeeds. Abdul Rahman Mohammed is National President of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana.
While we commend and appreciate the government on these steps being taken, there are fundamental problems that can overturn all this if not addressed by government. One, access to quality inputs, especially seeds by smallholder farmers, is still a serious challenge. Government should increase investment in the seed value chain to ensure easier access to and utilization of quality seeds.
Programs coordinator for the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Victoria Dongo, said the association supports government's renewed clampdown on Galamsey activities since they have dire consequences on farming.
They have poisoned the water bodies. I personally did a research and we went around some of the areas and we saw that most of the water was full of arsenic and what's that poison there? They were very poisonous. Actually, some of the food that was produced, there were traces of arsenic in the food. So you can see the effects of the Galamsey activities on farming in those areas. That is why we want to emphasize our support for the Galamsey, the government's action against Galamsey activities in the country.
She also noted it was important to protect the borders so subsidized fertilizers can reach designated farmers. Deputy Upper East Regional Minister Dr. Frank Fuseni emphasized governments will ensure that farmers benefit from subsidized fertilizers.
We are all aware that our region is notorious for fertilizer smuggling. Few unpatriotic citizens would want to smuggle this fertilizer for their own personal gains, as against the interests of the majority. The Regional Coordinating Council has put in place a security task force to clamp down on this economic sabotage.
The officials of SEPS at the Paga border pledged support to help prevent smugglers from getting Ghana's fertilizer across the border to Burkina Faso.
We shall do all possible. We will be ready to assist anybody who will volunteer information about the smuggling of fertilizer, especially at this crucial hour.
Now, heads of churches in the Ashanti region have admonished especially members of the Christian community to reject offerings made by members engaged in illegal mining activities as a way of discouraging the illicit trade, blamed for the destruction to the environment and the pollution of the country's water bodies. Addressing journalists Tuesday, immediate past diocesan bishop of the Methodist Church, Right Reverend Safo Kantanka, says as worshippers of God, Christians are mandated to protect nature. Therefore, charged church leaders to use the pulpit to preach the disastrous effects of legal mining.
The Christian community,
as a Christian community, we are able to differentiate good from bad, and therefore it is necessary to do what is right. The church will therefore not accept any offering gained from illegal mining activities. It is our duty as a church to protect nature and not destroy it. I therefore charge the church leaders to use the pulpit to preach the effects of illegal mining activities.
Almost say na India na say sa environment ana bibisa yakopon de amaye enti yema asofo ati ase say ifri na ekwe womo moden na womo fro pulpit na womo enchire because
Reverend Safo Kantanka commended the government for the clampdown on Galamsey, but said alternate livelihoods must be found for those engaged in illegal mining.
We want to state clearly that we didn't give power to the authority to destroy the environment. Chiefs must stop selling lands to such people involved in such acts. The Christian community is also calling on security agencies, politicians and all stakeholders to help stop illegal mining activities. We commend the government for their efforts so far in the fight against Galamsey and hope to find alternative means of employment for those involved in the operations.
The President, His Excellency, Nana Abedankwa Akufo-Addo, say, Obaye Abosome saying, and then Anamaya, what to Ewo Galamsey Samono, Yebola Basso, Ewo. Nemo, Yen Pese, a year. Ediswade mu na be kakra no na afi yenti bibia ebio ye pese ye kantra aban se eye de na woni a ye pamo free sa asase a omo se so omo se ye Ghana fo nti en hwe kwane a ye betimi afa so ama se sika no bo na ye betu a ye be fa kwane e fata so na ye tu sa gold no na ense environment ama.
Peace is gradually returning to Agbogboleshi 3 weeks after clashes there left 2 people dead and some wounded. There is still police presence in the area and business at the Yam Market has resumed. However, some of the residents whose houses were destroyed say they cannot rebuild because of threats of further attacks. Manasseh Azuya-Winnie has been to the community and reports.
At the Konkoma Yam Market at Agbogboleshi, it is business as usual. The young women are selling as truck pushers who are competing with head porters cut hundreds of tubers from the market. Apart from the heavy police presence in this area, it is difficult to imagine that this market was closed to business 3 weeks ago due to violence. The clashes interrupted business activities. The business is back now, but deep inside the settlement, The wounds of destruction caused by the violence are yet to heal. The structures and shops that were either looted or vandalized are yet to be put back into business. The head of the Konkoma Yam Market Association, Ezekiel Dana, says the owners of the structures are still away. He says some criminal elements have taken advantage of the situation, and until they are dealt with, there will not be peace.
We have been here for over 30 years now. Since here was small, there used not to be this an easy thing. But now that we have found out that some criminals has infiltrated into our midst who want to cause confusion, and therefore we are urging the government, to put its feet on the ground, and all who are suspects, the police are here. At least they have gotten some names and know maybe if they have gotten wing of others, at least should help us weed out those partners who always want us these clashes to carry on, for they have their agenda.
Joy News sources meanwhile say the police are meeting leaders of the communities on Wednesday to dialogue on how to bring lasting peace to what has become the biggest slum in the country. Among the steps to be taken is the creation of a neighborhood watchdog committee made up of members of the various groups in the area. This move, according to Joy News sources, has been sanctioned by the Inspector General of Police, David Asante Pietu.
To provide healthcare which is more patient-centered, accessible and safe, the Ministry of Health has identified gaps in the health system that needs proper attention in order to improve the overall quality. The key areas include maternal and child health, mental health and geriatric health. Patricia Gasso has more in the following report.
Quality healthcare delivery is essential and key to the socio-economic development of any country. Though unequal service abounds in the health sector, stakeholders want to ensure at least all patients receive the right care at the right time, in the right setting every time.
There are standards that the professionals are supposed to adhere to in delivering care. When you come in with malaria, we know the questions that are supposed to be asked. We know the examination that you're supposed to undergo. We know the lab tests that are supposed to be requested. We know even the communication that has to take place between the health professional and the patient. So what we want to ensure is that all of these things are being done reliably all the time in priority areas. So if you read the quality strategy, for example, we have a number of priority areas: maternal, newborn and child health. And we have focused on areas where we have gaps. So over the last 10 years or so, if you look at maternal mortality, is reduced by up to about 50%. If you look at child health, the last demographic and health survey reduced by about 25%. That was done in 2014. But there is an area with the newborn care. And the newborn, I mean the first 28 days of life, where we are not seeing that much of a significant improvement. So there's clearly a gap there. And I say there's a gap because the women are getting pregnant, they are doing antenatal care, they are delivering in the facilities, the figures are going up. Postnatal care, in terms of coming to the facilities after delivering, their figures are also going up. So in terms of the quality of this care that is provided at the time of labor, I think there are question marks about it that we will need to address.
The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with other partners, has taken steps to engage patient groups and consumer protection groups in soliciting their views to drive a quality healthcare delivery system in Ghana.
Often we hear all kinds of complaints in the media from patients, they are not happy with one thing or the other, talking about the fact that they spent a long time waiting. Sometimes health professionals themselves have complained about quality of medicines that are given to patients. Patients spend a lot of money, but then the cure is not coming as much as you want. I mean, these are all quality gaps. And the attempt is to bring patients also into the conversation so that it's no longer health professionals telling patients what should constitute quality. But even the very definition of quality is looking at patient satisfaction, meeting the patient's expectations.
Executive Director of Ubora Institute, Ernest Kanyoye, believes investment in the health sector will improve and sustain the campaign.
One of the things we ought to do is to be able to advocate, campaign, and make sure that every stakeholder who can put in money, who can put in resources, who can put in time and energy would feed into that. So we are going to present a cost plan to all the agencies And then most likely what is going to be sustainable for us, because we want to create a sustained, improved healthcare system, is that government or policymakers begin to devote a lot of money or budgets for areas around quality, because that is what is more sustainable. Taxpayers' money in terms of funding things is more sustainable, but of course it should be applied judiciously. So sometimes quality is not about how much you spend, it's about how well you spend.
The 4-day discussion is intended to develop an action plan and to outline the way forward for agencies in alignment with the National Healthcare Quality Strategy.
Housing is proving to be one of the many challenges confronting many developing countries, including Ghana. Available statistics expect Ghana's housing deficit at 1.7 million, but Minister for Works and Housing, Tamale, is hoping to use a rural housing scheme to bridge the gap. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba was with him during a tour of some affordable housing project sites and has come through with this report.
Which is very good for all of us is that the rural housing scheme is going to take center stage. What we are seeking to do, that people who are living on the Accra-Kumasi road, if you are coming close to, probably let's start off with Owusu, or maybe what's it called, Kwabing, you know, you can virtually have high-rise buildings in these areas. And if our trunk road is very good, it will take about an hour for somebody to drive from where he's living in the hinterland and come to Accra and work. It's the same problem we're having that somebody's in Medina and is in traffic for about 45 minutes before he gets to the ministry. So if we make the rural place attractive, you'll find people who, if we have good road networks and the transportation is very good, who will live in the hinterland but come to work in the city. Do we need a bank for housing and construction to roll out huge sums of money to even local contractors and foreigners, and then they will find an agreement that it is paid long term? You can never own a house if you spend more than 30% of your income on mortgage servicing. Well, there is a need for it to bring it back, and that is one of the things I'll push in the cabinet, that let's set up the bank.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Real Estate Development Association is backing calls for social housing fully funded by government as part of necessary housing reforms. The real estate developers say this is the most effective way to cater for about 25% of Ghanaians who are homeless. President Kwadwo, speaking during May Day celebrations, likened Ghana's housing situation to congestion in prisons. Acting Executive Director of GREDA, Samuel Gaibo, says a new research by the Real Estate Association shows that only 13% of the population can afford housing, hence the urgent need for social housing. He spoke earlier with Gifty Andwapia on the Pulse.
We can see where other countries have adopted that every land in the country belongs to somebody, but then the administration of land is solely managed by the state. The state cannot sell land to more than 2 people at the same time. First of all, the thing has to be properly documented, and then we can have a software system that, you know, picks up each land. Okay. And then when sale is done, it is done one transaction. So anybody in this country who owns land cannot sell land on your own unless you pass it through the state. For social housing, I think government has to take that responsibility. You know, we did some study that we're trying to look at the purchasing power of Ghanaians, and that study give out that it's only about 13% or so, 13 to 15% of Ghanaians who have the purchasing power to buy house. Okay, to actually buy house or build houses, buy houses. And then we had about 60% that had the capability of renting. They could afford rental. At some reasonable prices, they could afford rental. Then we had about, I think, 25 or so who did not have any capacity to either own, build, or do anything. So those people are the people that the social housing are supposed to help. It is everywhere in the world. We have the vulnerable. We have people, no matter how much you try, they will be there, and you need to assist them. And that is where social housing comes in. And that one has to be taken up fully by government. Maybe the private sector can partner government in a way to do something about it. But I think government must take that responsibility on its head, and then can get private sector to assist them to do it.
Over 500 children in Kumasi enjoyed free health screening at the Lava Firm Child Health Fair on Workers' Day. The children who came with their parents were screened for various conditions ranging from obesity to glaucoma. The children were also treated to fun-filled activities. Here are highlights of the program.
Like what?
So far, so good. It went well. I mean, it's been 3 years now since they started, and we've been coming and every year it's improved. This year, we went to the eye center and they checked. They said she has environmental allergy, so they gave her some drugs. Then we went to the ENT. They checked her ears and her nose, and they said she's okay. Just that she has a bit of cold, so we should just give her a lot of water and paracetamol. She'll be fine.
With reference to overweight among kids, aside increasing the intake of fruits and vegetables, I think we should encourage the kids to take healthy snacks instead of going for the fizzy drinks. And if possible, we should restrict the amount of fat we give to them, because these are the basic contributing factors to overweight and obesity in kids.
We have been very impressed with the turnout again this year. Consistently, we've had a huge numbers to attend to. And then the other nicest thing is that we've been able to address everybody's issue within the shortest possible time frame. We've not had any complaints about how things have slowed down. We've had the numbers of doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers, dentists who have been really open, giving out their best for Ghanaian children, especially in the Ashanti region. And it's really nice to see. In terms of the screening, the specific things, let me start with the eye group. The eye group were able to, most of the cases they saw were patients who had allergies, and quite a number of them have been addressed. A few of them were referred. We have also patients, little children, some of them developing glaucoma, which is a problem with eyes that can eventually lead to blindness.
This is Joy News Prime.